by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, hold tight.
Alright guys, so I'm going to lay out some of the steps that we're going to be going over today to help you buy your first investment deal. So step number one is you need to sit down and think, what is your investing strategy going to be? So there are three main investing strategies. The most common is being a landlord owning rental properties. And then you've got flipping, which is, buying properties, fixing them up and selling them for a profit. And then there's a third strategy called wholesaling. Not a lot of people know about it initially, but once they learn about it, this tends to be the strategy most people start with. And I'm going to have a lot of videos coming out in the future on wholesaling, as well as a wholesaling course. So wholesaling, all it is buying a property and then reselling it. Like you're being a wholesaler and you're just reselling it to another investor without actually putting any money or work into the property. So it's kind of like when people flip cars, they buy a car at a cheap price, they turn around and resell that same car to somebody else without even driving it or doing anything to it. Same with eBay, people will find deals at garage sales, they'll turn around and put it up for sale on eBay at a higher price. So that's kind of what wholesaling is in real estate. You can find a property, for $80,000 that may be worth $200,000. You turn around and sell it to another investor for $100,000. So you make a $20,000 profit, and then that other investor still gets it at $100,000, and they've got plenty of room to fix it up and resell it at $200,000. So it's a win-win. They're going to profit, you're going to profit. So in a sense, you're kind of just being like a bird dog is kind of the term for it, or a scout. You're kind of going out scouting properties, finding good deals that you don't necessarily want to actually put the work and time into, but you go ahead and purchase them because they're such good deals that you turn around and wholesale it to another investor. So that's probably one of the easy strategies you can get started with without capital or credit. Then a lot of people go into flipping and rental properties. So you need to think first, what's your strategy going to be? Today's video, I'm going to show you an example deal related to flipping houses. So that's the strategy that I'll be covering in this example video. But if you were to be a landlord, you could apply the exact same template. You would just hold on to the property and all the profits would stay in that property. And then eventually when you go to sell, you'd get all those profits out. But in the meantime, you're going to collect rental income. So once you've determined your strategy, step two is going to be to determine your price range. How much money do you have to invest? So what kind of houses are you able to go after? If you need to raise capital from somebody else to help you out, then you need to know how much capital you think you could raise, or that you already have committed if you've already been talking to other people about investing in your deals. So wholesaling, like I said, is one of those strategies you can get started with without having any capital, since you're just flipping a contract to another investor, and you could let that investor buy the property or buy the contract off you. But when you go to flip houses, you're probably going to need, at least $50,000, $60,000, maybe even $70,000 at a minimum. Because even if you buy the property super cheap, $20,000, $30,000 homes, you're still going to need money to put, the renovations into the property to fix it up. So ideally, if you can have 50, 60, 70 grand starting out, then you should be able to buy most properties, in the Midwest where it's cheap. If you're on the coast, you're probably going to need more capital. So once you determine your price range, then you're going to know kind of what areas you could target in your city, because each neighborhood is going to have different price ranges. So that'll help us in step 4. So step 3, we're going to need to determine our property features. How many bedrooms do you want to target, bathrooms, square footage, and any other features. So my criteria, I target 3-bedroom homes with at least 2 bathrooms or more. So if it's a 4-bedroom or it has 3 bathrooms, that also meets my criteria, as long as it has at least 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. So once you determine your property features, next we need to start picking out neighborhoods that we're going to target. So that's where this tutorial coming up is going to help you pick out the neighborhoods to target. I'm going to show you how to use Zillow to screen out good and bad areas in your city and find those neighborhoods that are in that price range from step 2. That way you can set up searches for these neighborhoods, so anytime a new property comes on for sale, you'll be notified. Step 5 will then be to set up a showing once that property comes on for sale. So you're going to need to have a real estate agent you're working with ahead of time. That way they can, do some of the legwork for you, trying to find you investment properties while you're also self-researching and watching Zillow. Step 6, you're going to need to run the numbers. So once you get a showing, you're going to need to go in and, take photos, take measurements, get contractor quotes for all the different repairs, run the numbers and see how much profit potential there will be. And then step 7 is you're going to submit an offer and actually start, getting serious about buying the property. So this is when you start signing a contract that your real estate agent will submit to the seller, and hopefully the seller will accept your offer. And then you'll have a 30 to 45 day closing period where you've got to do inspections, maybe get an appraisal done, and other things that have to do with the closing process before you finally sit down at closing day, sign the papers, and take title of the property. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and jump into this tutorial on Zillow to help you find your first investment deal. All right, so step number 1, we need to determine our strategy. So in today's lesson, I'm going to be using the fixing and flipping strategy. So we're going to be finding neighborhoods where we can have a high resale value in, the $200,000 to $300,000 to $400,000 range. Some neighborhoods might even be even higher. And once we know those neighborhoods, what properties typically sell for, we can begin targeting what purchase price we need to buy the property at in that neighborhood in order to make the deal work. So you kind of got to reverse engineer, starting with the resale value at the very end of the deal. That way when you go to sell, you know exactly how much profit you should have based on what purchase price you need to buy the property at. So we'll work backwards. So step 1, we picked our flipping as our strategy. Step 2, we need to determine the price range. So I'm going to be searching for neighborhoods today that we can flip a house in the $200,000 to $300,000 range. And ideally, we're going to have to try to buy it, less than $100,000 to $120,000. Or if the neighborhoods end up being pricier, for example, if it's a $500,000 to $600,000 neighborhood, then you're ideally going to need to target about half off, 50% off. So if the resale value for that neighborhood is typically $550,000 to $600,000, you're going to need to target around $275,000 to $300,000 in order to have enough money to cover all the renovations, because you're probably going to have a pretty big renovation budget for those expensive homes. And then you're also going to have closing costs. Real estate commissions will be pretty expensive to go to sell the property. So that's why you got to get it at least half off of whatever it's worth in that neighborhood. So that's our price range. Step 3 is our strategy. So when you come on Zillow, we're going to be looking for at least 3 bedrooms, at least 2 bathrooms. That's the targets. That's the property features I target. So Zillow, you can type in a city here. I chose Columbus, Ohio, since that's where I went to school at Ohio State. So here's Ohio State's campus, just north of downtown, the business district right here. And then you've got, a not so good area of town over here. And then, the south side city's all right, but there's some bad districts down here. So pretty much the ritzy area is all up along this left side here, Upper Arlington, the Gables. You've got Dublin up here in the corner. So this is going to be your higher priced homes area. And then, of course, you've got kind of just the average house prices down in here. And the east side and south side of Columbus. So that's a little bit of the map for you. You can see the white circle going around Columbus. That's 270, the interstate. So that pretty much draws a circle around the city of Columbus. So now that we've covered the map, the city we're investing in, we want to go to listing type. So you can choose to select for sale, recently sold. You don't need to worry about for rent or potential listings. But this will show you any property for sale. This will show you any property that recently sold. So we'll get to that in a minute. Then you've got any price, so you can set your price ranges. Then we've got the bedroom features. So I set it to 3 bedrooms minimum. Home type, we want houses since we're flipping houses. And then under more, I put at least 2 bathrooms and at least 1,000 square foot. So it's a decent sized home that has some value to it. If you're doing small houses, it's harder to ask a decent amount for it when you go to sell it. And then days on Zillow, we want to see what's been happening in the past 3 months or 90 days. So that criteria is set. So the next step is to basically pick our neighborhoods. So to help us find what neighborhoods are good for flipping homes, we first need to screen out the bad neighborhoods. So to do that, you're going to look for the low-priced homes that are in big clusters. So if there's a ton of properties selling at a low price range, that tells you that area is a depressed area where prices haven't risen much, and it's going to be hard to resell a property for a high dollar amount in those areas since so many homes are selling at such cheap prices. So to find that out, we're going to go ahead and set our max at 100,000 to see how narrow it gets, and then we might even narrow it down more. Actually, let's start really small. Let's first start with 30,000 and we'll work our way up from there. All right, so starting with $30,000, it's going to show no results initially because now we can go back here and we're ready to turn on the for sale and recently solds. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on for sale, and then we're going to set the criteria. Since it just reset it, we'll set it back to 30,000. So homes in Columbus, Ohio selling for less than 30,000. You've only got a few dots over here on the east side of campus, which is a rough area since I've driven around there before. And then you've got some kind of spread out here. So there's not really a big cluster. There's not a whole lot of homes under 30,000 as you'd expect, but we at least have some initial spots to keep our eyes on as we scale it up. So next, let's move up to 50,000 and we should get some more results. So here's some more clustered around this area. So this is starting to appear like a low depressed price area. And then we're starting to see this line right along here starting to cluster up. So again, let's move up to the next price range of 75,000. And again, some more properties are coming on for sale in these clusters. So already we can start to tell that these are going to be your, low income home areas where the rents are low, and I'm assuming the resale value of the home is going to be kind of low. So these are areas that we necessarily don't want to try to flip in because we're not going to be able to get a whole lot for the house. So for kicks and giggles, let's go ahead and turn on recently solds. So now it's going to show you homes that have sold under 75,000, and that'll help add some more clustered dots to the map. So here's where all the clusters are, just like with the red dots. So these are the main three areas. We've got this area right here, the area up here by Ohio State's campus that's just east, and then we've got this one south of the river and west of downtown. So these are the three areas to kind of avoid. And then up here where we don't have many dots, these are probably higher priced areas, which I know for a fact just from living in Columbus, these are nicer homes in this area. So that's why you're not seeing any red dots show up, and you're seeing very few yellow dots show up for anything under 75 grand. So now that we've targeted out some of the low priced areas, these are all the homes that sold under 75. Let's go ahead and knock it back down to 50 just for confirming. So yeah, we've got these areas here and here and here. So these are all areas where you're going to want to stay away from. So now we've helped eliminate some neighborhoods. Now we need to start scaling into these areas that are higher priced homes to find areas that are good for flips. Because if you're going to flip a house in the $200,000 to $300,000 range, you want them to be in neighborhoods that have typically selling in those price ranges. You don't want to try to do a $300,000 flip down in this area that's selling for $40,000, $50,000. It's going to be hard to find buyers that want to buy down in these areas because you got to think about the demand when you go to resell. You got to have a high demand and a price range that can help you get out of the property. If you're trying to sell $1 million property, not a lot of people are going to be able to afford that. So it's going to sit on the market a long time because you've got a small pool of buyers. So ideally, a good flip's probably in that $200,000 to $300,000 range because you're going to have a lot of people that can afford that price range. All right, so now that we've got an idea that we're going to probably be flipping in this part of town of Columbus, let's go ahead and start messing around with the prices to see what homes are kind of going for in these areas. So let's try to raise it now up to about 150,000. So now we just saw a bunch of homes come on for sale and recently sold up here in the northern part of Columbus. So that's good up in the Worthington district. So we could zoom in a little more since we're kind of eliminating the south side of Columbus. We'll move up here to the north and the west side of Columbus. So just hovering around here, you're going to get some prices. So 137. we've got 128. So right in here, you can find homes in the 130, 140 range. And then if we're able to, we could zoom in and see what stuff's maybe sold for recently. All right, so we've got a good assortment of prices. Let's see what we can find. We've got 118, 140, 128. So yeah, this is a good range. There's a big cluster of homes right here that are all selling, as you can see, between 135, 140. You've got the 120s. So this would be a good area if you're trying to, target homes that are going to sell between 120 to 140. Then you can look for homes to come on for sale, about half off or about 40% of the after repair value. So if it's going to sell for 120 to 140,000, you're probably going to want to get it around 50,000, maybe around 60,000. That'd probably be your max purchase price, but ideally you want to aim for 50,000. So now what you can do is scale back down, set your criteria back to 55,000, and you can see if there's anything for sale. So right now there's nothing for sale for around 55,000 or less. So you're going to have to set up a search in the MLS with your real estate agent, target this area and tell them, hey, anytime a home comes on the market for sale under 60 grand, I want to be email notified by your MLS system. So they'll get you all set up, and you can be patient and just wait. It might take several months, but eventually there will be some deals that come on for under 50,000, which you can see here. These are ones that recently sold. So you found probably some foreclosures that sold for 13, 18, 12, 14, 15. And then you got a couple that sold at 45 and 50 in the last 3 months. So you got to remember, or in this case, it's the last 12 months. So it's looking like there's not going to be a lot of homes that are going to sell under 50 here. So you might be waiting a while. So it just depends. That's one of the things about doing research, that if it looks like it's going to be tough to find homes selling under 50, this may not be a good area to try to flip, because you're going to be waiting a long time for a deal. So that's why it's good to have multiple neighborhoods you're watching. So you can have a search set up for this neighborhood, waiting for that home to come on under 50,000. In the meantime, you could have some other neighborhoods you're targeting as well. So let's go ahead and turn on actives. Actives are turned on. Okay. So let's go back up to, let's go to 250 now. And then we'll go ahead and eliminate, anything above or below 150. So we can start seeing where the neighborhoods are that are between 150 to 250. So again, you're going to start looking for clusters. So we've got clusters right in here. We've got up here. So here's the airport. So it makes sense. There's nothing here. So just to the left side of the airport, north of the airport, south of the airport, you've got a good range of homes selling between 150 to 250. So these neighborhoods, now that you know that this is the, a popular price range for these neighborhoods, again, you can set up searches. Anything that comes on the market under 100 grand in any of these three neighborhood areas, you want to be notified, because the potential resale value is going to be then between 150 to 250. So if you can get it for under 100 grand, you're going to be looking at, profit potential on the deal. So that is step 4. I think we've hit it pretty well so far on how to pick neighborhoods. You would just come on here, keep playing around with the price feature to see where clusters of homes are at the different price levels you're at, and that'll tell you what those neighborhoods typically go for. And then you could set up searches at 50% off. So anytime a home comes on for sale, 50% off of that typical price for that neighborhood, then that's going to be a potential flip deal. All right, step 5 is just set up showings. So the minute you see a home come on, in this neighborhood for 90,000 that typically could be sold up here in the 2s, then you're going to want to set up a showing immediately, because there's probably going to be a lot of buyers competing for that same house. So get in as quick as you can. Have your financing all set up if you're going to buy it cash, or if you've got an investment partner who's going to fund the deal. Make sure you've got your proof of funds letter ready. Go see the property, and take a contractor with you, or somebody who has experience running estimates of costs for things. I also have an ebook on estimating the costs of a rehab. You could check out on Amazon. Just search my name in Amazon, Nick Foy or Nicholas Foy. It should come up. It's called The Book on Estimating Rehab Costs. It'll basically break down all the components of a house. There's like 30 some different components of a house, and it'll teach you how to price things out. Otherwise, have a contractor go with you. They can bid out all the different projects for that property that are going to need updated and renovated. So once you take them with you, you'll be able to write down all the numbers, start crunching them on a spreadsheet. Here's the resale value, then subtract out the renovation costs, subtract out holding costs like property taxes and insurance, and then your closing costs and real estate commissions you're going to have to pay. That'll give you an estimated break-even level. So then you're going to need to factor in your profit off that break-even level to see what purchase price you need to offer. And it's going to probably work out to be between 30 to 50% off, or 30 to 50% of the after repair value. So if the after repair value, is $100,000, you're going to need to buy that property, like I said, 30 to 50%. So either 30,000 to 50,000, somewhere in there, so that you're leaving yourself a pretty big spread for all those expenses that I just mentioned. All right, and once you run the numbers, then it's time to submit that offer and, wait for the seller to counter. If there happens to be multiple offers on the deal, the real estate agent will notify you that there's multiple offers. They'll typically ask for your highest and best offer, so you'll need to resubmit a new offer if you want to come up a little, or you could just stand firm on your original offer and see how it compares against the other offers. You won't find out until, the seller chooses an offer that they want to go with, and then everybody will be notified which offer was the winning offer. You won't know necessarily how much that offer was, though, that won until they finally close on the property. It usually stays private information. So that recently happened with us on a property. We were looking at one that was a foreclosure. It was selling for $19,000. I think we offered $18,000 for it. It had multiple offers. So we just stayed firm at $18,000, and we ended up getting beat, which I figured somebody would end up racking their offer way up above $30,000. And now it's almost been a month since that property, got sold to that investor. So I'm about to find out once it closes what that investor finally bought it for, and I'll update you guys on that. But that's a quick breakdown today of how to use Zillow to find flips. You can also use it for rental properties and wholesale deals as well. You would, set your criteria, pick your strategy, then get on Zillow and set the different criteria, and then start messing around with price ranges to figure out what neighborhoods go for in order to pick which neighborhoods you want to target and which neighborhoods you want to avoid. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button. I'm uploading daily videos, and I've got more tutorials like this coming for you where we go through example property analysis deals. And in the future, I've got a course coming out. You can check the first link in the description. It's going to help you, speed up the learning process so you don't have to spend tons of time researching. That course is going to have everything you need to know: video content, PDFs, ebooks. It's going to come with worksheets, tons of bonuses. It's going to be the complete course that you can use to build your real estate investing business that I used, all the information I used to help buy my first couple deals and start scaling my business to where, I've done some six-figure deals. I've built my net worth up above $300,000 at a young age of 22. So you can get started, like I said, with wholesaling where you don't need any money, or you can jump straight into rentals and flipping if you've got capital saved or an investment partner. So take care and be sure to subscribe for tomorrow's video.